I'm going to tell you about how to write research paper, its basic techniques. I'm Sandeep Gharat, working as a postdoctoral fellow. This is the brief outline of the research paper. I will first discuss what do you mean by research paper, then sample outline, how to select paper title. Affiliation and authors are also important part, abstract, main body, and in the end references. We'll see it one by one. Before starting about what do you mean by technical paper and its details, let me tell you, those who are doing masters or PhD or even undergraduate projects, final year students, this is really useful for them, because whatever work you are carrying out, experimental I'm saying, you can parallelly write that experimental work in terms of technical paper or research paper. Where to submit, how to submit, I think your guide will know better, or even I may plan for another video for the same. But so first and most important thing is how to write that paper, and let's see. So what do you mean by technical paper? It is an article or research paper. Of course, your original work. If you want to publish it, the work has to be original. You cannot take someone's paper and submit it. Of course, review paper is another part where you can have different papers and write your own. But it's not difficult, but it needs a lot of work to be done. So right now I'm concentrating on how to write your original work in the paper form. Remember, in every paper, these are the main subpoints. Every paper has to have abstract, introduction, materials and methodology or methods, what kind of experimental work you have carried out, results, that maybe graphs which you have presented or plotted, conclusion, and maybe references in the end. So we'll see one by one. This is the outline of the paper. Paper title, you can see, discharge of binary mixture in three-dimensional silo. Author, I have added my name as an author. Affiliation, so for example, this work is carried out in the institutes, let us say IIT Bombay, then I have mentioned. If it is collaborative work, you can add one more. The individual point I will discuss in next one by one sections. Abstract, then the 4 points which I have mentioned, they are very, very important. Introduction, materials, results and conclusion. And every paper will have this same. So that's what I said. If you are working on any project, start writing introductions as a section, materials and methodology as another sections. If you have plotted a graph, its effects, plot that graph and put it. So you just dump the information in these 4 parts and references in the end. Let's see each and every point one by one. Now I am going to discuss each of this in next sections. How to select paper title. Remember, the paper title is describes, your work. If you look at the paper title which I have mentioned, discharge of binary mixture in 3D silo, it gives me idea it's a binary mixture, two components. System is three-dimensional silo, and I'm working on a discharge, that is flow rate. So while selecting paper title, you have to be very, very careful. It should be perfectly defined. You should not use abbreviations. It should give you a positive impression, right? And so that readers will read it. You must restrict your title to 10 to 15 words. It should not be too short and too long. When you write thesis, master's, undergraduate or PhD, we usually study of wastewater treatment, analysis of these. So while selecting paper title, don't use study of. So for example, study of flow of discharge of binary, I think analysis of. So don't use, rather avoid such kind of words. The title should exactly match the what study you have carried out. The similar another title for similar to the title which I have mentioned is, you can see, silo discharge of binary granular mixtures. So these are some examples. Now next. So paper title is over. Next is affiliation. Affiliation meaning is the place where you are currently working, institute, organizations. If you have a collaborator or sponsor, that will be affiliations. So you can add their name as an affiliation. So I'll show you an example in the end. Authors, suppose if you are the one who are working on this projects, then you are the only author. If you and your guide, then you should write, of course, with the help of guide's permission. Usually the one who has worked will have a first author and then guide name. But in that there is one more author which is to be mentioned while submitting the paper, corresponding author. Corresponding author indicates all correspondence to be made to that particular person's, maybe comments, reviewer comments after submitting the paper. So this is simple example, like Sandeep H. Gharat is the name of the author. For example, it's a single author. This is the affiliation. And corresponding author, as I'm the only one author, so Sandeep Gharat 78@gmail.com. Now if there are more than two authors, for example, let us say my guide Devang V. Khakkar, and let us say he is a corresponding author, then I have to change the email ID with his name. And if we are from the same institute, I don't have to mention this one. And if both are from different institute, then we can add one more affiliation list. This is very simple. Abstract. Usually abstract to be written in the end, but initial draft you can prepare, so that which will give you an idea, the story or the flow of the paper. Important points while preparing abstract is, you should mention the abstract scope of the study, motivation, achievements, key results, and one or two conclusions. You go through any research paper, you will find these 4 or 5 points. And remember, the abstract has to be between 300 to 350 words. In some of the journals, the the abstract words are restricted 100, 150, so you have to reduce the accordingly the number of words. Keywords are usually the words which highlighted your work, your paper. 4 or 5 keywords are sufficient. Look at the example. Removal of pesticides from wastewater using biosorbents. So pesticide is the keyword, wastewater is also a keyword, biosorbents. Now degradation is also another keyword in this. Another title, simulation of stirred tank reactor using computational fluid dynamics, CFD. So CFD is a keyword, reactor is a keyword. This is the simulation work, so simulation is a keyword, and the work is based on mass transfer operation, for example, then it is another keyword is mass transfer. Now next, introduction. Usually, remember the introduction in the report, your undergraduate, master or thesis is different than the introduction of the research paper. Research paper introduction is to be very, very brief. It should include, for example, you can see, usually first 8-10 lines. Of course, I have done extensive survey and then I come up with these, the number of lines, the scope, right? The idea basically. So every introduction, initially 8-10 lines should have what is the source, what is the background of the, why you are carrying out this work, necessity. Or rather you can say problem statement in the 8-10 lines or close to that. In next 3-4 lines, you have to define the problems, why you are carrying out, why the particular method is useful compared to other method. Anyone who has studied that work previously, not exactly same but similar kind of, that 4 or 5 lines you have to add. And in the end you have to brief your work, what you are going to carry out or what you have carried out in this particular paper. Next section, materials and methodology. Materials and methodology, of course, if you have carried out experimental work, then this materials will come in a picture. But if you have done a simulation, then of course simulation methodology will come in the picture. But the section will remain same. For example, if you have purchased some material chemicals to carry out, so you have to mention that from where you have purchased. Suppose if you have carried out, used one of the system, then the system is purchased from or what specification of that particular setup. Methodology adopted and which equipments or analytical methods if you have used, you have to mention that in this section. Experimental work, I have shown this. This is your, as I mentioned, your actual work. Try to avoid such type of pictures in the paper. You can have as an extra just to show it, but it is always better to have a schematic diagram. Of course, if you have a schematic and then the picture, then it's good, but preferably it is always better to, schematic will give you a better idea rather than direct pictures. But if you add both, it's really good. In experimental work section, you have to write the detailed experimentals, like the specifications of this motor, probe, chemicals, everything. That will give you a better idea in this. You can take help of other papers while writing this. Important sections, results and discussions. Remember what are the parameters you have studied, your plot, and you have to have a correct interpretation of what kind of work you have done. Now you can see sample. So in average velocity versus time, so you can see The red graph indicates the depth of 4 millimeter and the black one indicates depth of 6 millimeters. So, and the error bar indicates these standard deviations. So this gives an better idea to the reviewer what kind of work is done. And while I think plotting a graph, you should use you should plot in a quality, because this quality may be using good quality softwares. I have used this plot is done in XM Grace, so you can use any other. Conclusion. What work you have done, that has to be summarized. Not exactly summarized, but you have to conclude your outcomes, findings, right? You can see, do not write summary like I have done introduction, then experimental, and this. No, you have to mention the outcomes, findings of the work. You have to mention output obtained in terms of efficiency of the process or the work. Is there any intensification? Is there any improvement as compared to other system? Yes, you have to mention that. What are the different results obtained in your work? Is there any implementation of large to lab to large scale? Usually in chemical papers or research paper, lab scale to large scale is the implementation is very important. Do not forget to mention optimum results. If you have carried out experiment with respect to time, so at which time you got a better result, so that is the optimum time. If you have done different temperatures, at which temperature you got optimum results. Is there any cost saving or energy saving in your work? Of course, that will be useful for the industry or even in the society. Remember, this is very important sections. You have to acknowledge your work in some sense, that though if anyone has helped you directly or indirectly, you can acknowledge. If you have received any funding for the work from any organization, that could be private or government, right? You can say financial help, you should mention that. So for example, you can say, when I did my PhD, the work was sponsored by Tata Steel. So you can see the line, this work was done at IIT Bombay and the project was funded by Tata Steel. You can mention even project number for more detail. So this is very important. References in the end. Remember, while writing references, you should follow the standard procedures. Now, if you know initially in which journal you are using, then you can pick up any paper and see the back references, how they have written. But remember, in every paper, the referencing style is almost same. Same in sense that the name of the author first, the title, then the journal, volume number, page number, and the year. The only difference will be, instead of S. H. Gharat, it could be Sandeep H. Gharat, Devang V. Khakkar. All else will same. But remember, if you are following S. H. Gharat, D. like initials in first references, and in second references, if you use Sandeep H. Gharat, then it is not correct. You should use, for example, now I will say any other name, let us say Julian Montero. So you should not write Julian, you should write J. Montero. So I mean, this should maintain a standard referencing style in every references. Thank you for listening. I hope you liked it. If you have any questions, put it in the comment, or you can write to email to me, sandeepkharat78 @gmail.com. Thank you for watching this video.